Hello everyone, my name is Suraj and I'm a graduate student at Oklahoma State University. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to present my work at this mini symposium. And the title of my talk is Physics Guided Machine Learning in Fluid Dynamics. And I would like to acknowledge our collaborators from Norwegian University of Science and Technology and University of Nevada. So we all know that in last few decades, there is a big data generated for physical science, especially like the fields such as turbulence, wind energy, and climate science. And this data mainly generated from the high fidelity numerical simulation campaigns, experimental techniques like PIV, in situ sensor measurements, as well as satellite data. Along with this big data, there is also advancement in the GPU computing and open source libraries for machine learning, and this has led to data-driven modeling paradigm in computational science and engineering. So one of the main motivation behind data-driven models is that the high-fidelity models like CFD or LES and direct numerical simulations are not feasible for tasks such as design optimization or control applications. And typically for these applications, reduced order models are employed, but this reduced order model do not capture the nonlinear dynamics of turbulent flows accurately. To give you an example, if you want to design a bow of the hull, you can parameterize its shape by using the several control points, and then you can evaluate the performance of that geometry either by experimental measurements or like CFD solver. And your goal is to basically optimize the performance of, let's say, like a drag of the hull. To carry out actual CFD simulations for like the thousands of the geometry, it's not computationally possible. Therefore, the machine learning surrogate models can replace the CFD model. So we can run bunch of CFD simulations just for a range of parameters, and we can build the emulator for the CFD simulations. And this basically this ML based surrogate models has a very significant reduction in computational cost as compared to the full order model like CFD. Another advantage of data-driven models is that it allows for the continuous assimilation of online data. Therefore, if you are building like a digital twin of the wind farm or the Earth system, you will be having a continuous data getting recorded by different sensors, and you would like to assimilate that data into the full order model. So over there, the surrogate models, machine learning based surrogate models, are really useful, as well as the machine learning model can be retrained with the new data getting available continuously. So if you see the data-driven model and the physics-based model, the comparison, then we can see that the physics-based model has certain advantages over data-driven, especially that it is based on certain solid foundation governed by some governing equations and so on. As well as uncertainties in physics-based model can be bounded, as well as they have exhibit a very good generalization as compared to data-driven model. The data-driven models, on the other hand, are often biased and they exhibit poor generalization, especially to unseen data. So hybrid analysis and modeling is a paradigm which is basically like gaining popularity in last few years, especially because it combines the interpretability, robust foundation, and understanding of the physics-based approach with the accuracy, efficiency, and pattern identification capability of data-driven machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithm. So this so we often hear the different names such as theory guided data science, physics informed machine learning, physics informed neural networks, physics constrained learning, and so on. And there has been a great review articles in the literature on these topics. So the main ultimate goal of the scientific machine learning is for learning the physically consistent models. And traditionally in machine learning, simpler models are often preferable, especially because like they exhibit better generalizability as compared to complex models which have thousands of parameters. Uh, for example, the diagram over here shows the models like the basically the true model is shown by the red color over here, and the green models is like the has a very unlike complex models like deep learning methods. So these models have a very low bias error, but they also have a very high variance as indicated by the spread of these green color circles. The simpler models, on the other hand, exhibit high bias model error, but they have like low variance. And this is the basis of the model complexity and bias variance trade-off in statistical machine learning. And if you see for the scientific machine learning application, we can also bring the notion of physical consistency in addition to like accuracy and simplicity of the data-driven model. And this physically consistency basically helps in pruning the last space of possible solution, and it makes sure that the model that you have learned through like a data-driven method is actually physical consistent. The physical consistent data-driven models are more generalizable as compared to using like pure machine learning models. So for the scientific machine learning, we like present the physics guided machine learning framework, and this is a framework for learning generalizable deep learning models by exploiting knowledge from simplified theory. So this is a figure that illustrates the difference between pure data-driven machine learning model and the physics-guided machine learning model. So in the pure data-driven ML model, you have some kind of the input features, and you are trying to learn the map between the input features and the output labels. Oftentimes, the output is not constrained based on the basically the governing equations or the known domain knowledge that we have about the problem. Uh, but in physics guided machine learning, we also use the knowledge from simplified theories such as like analytical models that have been developed over past many decades into the neural network. So we can use these physics based features either at input layer, or we can also embed them at certain intermediate layer of the neural network. Therefore, if there is a very high correlation between the physics based features and the output labels, then you might be like better off by embedding them at later layers of the neural network. But if there is a like poor correlation, it might be better to embed them at the layers which are closer to the input layer. So this PGML, we applied it to the projection-based reduced order model of the vorticity transport equation, and the governing equations for the vorticity transport with the source term is given over here. Also, we have J as the Jacobian, and then there is a Laplacian term, and this pi is basically the unknown source term. And we use the array of Taylor-Green vortices as the unknown source term, and it has parameter like Reynolds number and gamma, which basically dictates the strength of the unknown source term as well as how it is decaying over time. We have the periodic boundary condition in x and y directions, and for an initial condition, we use the Gaussian distributed vortices, which are separated by a certain distance, and over time, these two vortices basically combines into a single vortice. Uh, and we use the proper orthogonal decomposition for building a reduced order model. So in POD, what we do is like we collect the snapshot of the data and we arrange them into this covariance matrix. So the index 1 to ns is basically the time index. So as you can see, the dimension of the A will depend on the spatial degree of freedom as well as the number of snapshots that you have. After once that covariance matrix is constructed, you basically do the singular value decomposition, and the left eigenvectors of this matrix A gives you the POD modes. And for the fluid mechanics problem, the first few modes often captures a coherent structure as well as the basically the major variance of the data. Therefore, instead of using the all the modes, you can basically just retain first few modes that captures basically the main dynamics very accurately. And the reduced order representation of the system is given over here with, let's say, like if you're using just R modes to reconstruct the velocity field. The Galerkin ROM is one of the very like the popular projection based ROM that basically models the dynamics of the reduced order system. So in Galerkin ROM is basically obtained by substituting the lower order approximation into full order model and then taking the inner product with the test basis functions, and that will give you a system of ODEs. So in Galerkin ROM, we basically use the test basis function is same as the trial basis function, and here is the equation for Galerkin ROM. Now, in many fluid dynamics problem, the governing equation of the system might not be known exactly. For example, we might just have the access to the dynamical core, which consists of the Jacobian and the Laplacian, and this pi term might be unknown. Therefore, we assume that we do not have any information about the pi term a priori, and therefore the Galerkin ROM in our study basically gets to just the linear and nonlinear part. And we can basically integrate this system of ODEs using any kind of the time integrator such as like Adams-Bashford numerical scheme. So as you can see that for the Gallatin ROM, we need to have access to the governing equations. But if we don't have that, then we can basically use the non-intrusive ROM, which allows for the model-free prediction. And because of this model-free prediction capability, non-intrusive ROMs are gaining a lot of popularity in last few years. So for like in our work, we use the LSTM, which is a type of recurrent neural network to capture the long-term type like the spatio-temporal dynamics of the vorticity transport equation. Uh, on the left-hand side, you can see the unfolded LSTM neural network architecture, and on the right-hand side are the equations of a single LSTM cell. Uh, so the T is basically the index over here, and you can see that the LSTM can capture the basically the temporal dependency over of the previous time step through this equation. Uh, so the main advantage of in basically in non-intrusive ROM, whatever data that you have used for the basis construction, you can project them onto the basically POD modes and get the true model coefficients, and then you train the model to predict the vorticity, like the model coefficients at the next time step as a function of the certain past consecutive state of the system. So once you have trained the model, then you can basically evaluate it either as a forecast in time, or you can evaluate it for a different parameter that is not included in the training. So the main problem with non-intrusive ROM can be that once you have the test data that is basically not included in the training, or it basically is not in the interpolation regime, then it might break the non-intrusive ROMs. So to address that, we use the PGML ROM, and in PGML ROM, we use the prediction from the GROM model coefficients from of the incomplete dynamical system as an input to the basically the LSTM network at certain intermediate layer. So the orange color over here basically shows the prediction from Gallatin projection coefficients. And since we do not have access to the basically unknown source term, it will just have the linear and non-linear part into it. So it will be like an incomplete dynamical system. So let us see some of the results for the vortex merging experiment. So we collect the data snapshot on the 256 square grid, and we do the training for Reynolds number 200, 400 up to 800. And we evaluate the performance of the PGML ROM for Reynolds number up to 3000. In order to quantify the uncertainty of the neural network prediction, we use the deep ensemble method. It is a very simple and scalable methods in which multiple neural networks are trained, and all these neural networks are initialized with different random weights. So since neural networks are trying to solve very complex non-convex optimization problem, based on the initialization of the weights of the neural network, each one will have the different local minima, and basically that will give you an estimate of the model uncertainty. And on the right hand side, you can see the prediction of model coefficients for a Reynolds number equal to 1500. As you can see, especially for the last mode, that is A8, or the 8 model coefficients, the average prediction of the PGML is much closer to the true, as indicated by the black line over here. Another advantage is that you can see a significant reduction in uncertainty compared to the machine learning model. And the main advantage of this PGML ROM comes when you have a Reynolds number which is very different from the training. That is, let's say Reynolds number equal to 3000. So the maximum Reynolds number in the training was 800, and the machine learning model really gives you very bad prediction, both in terms of the average prediction as well as the uncertainty bound. But the PGML, on the other hand, has a very prediction which is very close to true, with a very less uncertainty. And on the left hand side is basically the RMSE of the vorticity field for different magnitude of the source term. And over there also we see that the PGML has like the much less error for the reconstructed field as compared to the machine learning. We also perform apply this PGML for the aerodynamic force prediction task. And I will just quickly go through this. And in this, we basically use the physics-based features from the Hay-Smith panel method to predict the lift coefficient computed from the X-foil. And we see that basically the uncertainty for the airfoil, which was not included in the training, is much less, especially in the operating regime, that is the angle of attack from -10 to 10. And I would like to conclude, here are some of the concluding remarks. So the pure data-driven models are basically insufficient for scientific discovery problems. And this can be due to a variety of reasons, such as like limited access, like the limited amount of data for the problem that you're dealing with, or maybe like very highly noisy data and so on. But we also have the physics and domain knowledge about a problem, and that can be incorporated into data-driven models in different ways, either as a regularized loss function, or changing the structure of the neural network to enforce certain physics, or like the feature engineering as we do in this work. The physically consistent models, data-driven models, are have like much better, much better generalization performance, like the extrapolation performance, as compared to the pure data-driven models. And the physics-guided machine learning framework that we presented basically incorporates the knowledge from simplified theories during both training as well as in the online deployment, and that makes this framework very robust. uh, Also, like, this framework can be applied to different types of the problem in fluid mechanics, because we have like similarity solution, different analytical models for the different fluid mechanics problem. To know more about this work, here are the references. And with this, I would like to end my presentation, and I would like to thank you all. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.